Oh boy, I sure hope you like 30% of your damage coming from one ability, because today we are doing a warrior guide. Now besides casting Fell Cleave 5 times every minute, warriors are known for being the easiest tank to play. They have the best mitigation, most survivability, and the easiest rotation between the four. So if, like me, you have the attention span of a goldfish, I'm sure you'll find warrior a fulfilling job to play. Let's start with a rundown of their notable abilities. For damage, you have your 1-2-3 combo, you have Heavy Swing, Maim, and Surging Tempest, but like Paladin, you have a fourth skill, which is Storm's Eye, which combos out of Maim. Storm's Eye gives you a damage up buff for 30 seconds. You want to keep this buff up 100% of the time during an encounter. Also keep in mind this buff caps at 1 minute, making it very forgiving and easy to reapply. Tomahawk is your ranged ability where you chuck your axe dealing 150 potency. You also have your Beast Gauge, which you build through using your combos. Maim and Storm's Eye give 10, and Storm's Path gives you 20. For AoE, you have Overpower into Mithril Tempest. Mithril Tempest gives you 20 Beast Gauge and Storm's Eye for 30 seconds. You'll spend your Beast Gauge on Fell Cleave and Decimate, both cost 50. Fell Cleave for single target, Decimate for AoE situations with more than 2 targets. Next we have Onslaught, which is our gap closer. You get 3 charges with 30-second cooldown. For your cooldowns, we have Infuriate. It gives you 50 Beast Gauge and grants Nascent Chaos. Nascent Chaos transforms Fell Cleave into Inner Chaos, and Decimate into Chaotic Cyclone. Infuriate has 2 charges with a 60-second cooldown. The cooldown of Infuriate also goes down by 5 seconds with every cast of Fell Cleave and Decimate. Next we have Inner Release, which gives you 3 stacks of Inner Release, which allows you to cast Fell Cleave and Decimate without spending any Beast Gauge, and also guarantees critical hits and increases damage dealt by said critical hits. It also grants Inner Strength, which nullifies Sleep, Stun, Bind, and Heavy. It also works as knockback nullification, much like Arm's Length. It also does 2 more things. It extends Surging Tempest by 10 seconds and allows you to cast Primal Rend. Primal Rend is the coolest looking warrior ability with 700 potency and guarantees a critical hit. It also does 70% less damage to enemies around your target. Be sure to walk away from your target while casting for maximum cool factor. Inner Release has a minute-long cooldown and also gives you really cool, glowy red eyes. 2 more DPS abilities I want to go over. Those are Upheaval and Oregano. Not really sure how to pronounce it. These both share a 30-second cooldown and are off the GCD. Upheaval has a potency of 350, while Oregano has a potency of 150 and is an AoE ability. Alright, with DPS out of the way, this just leaves your mitigation. First off, Thrill of the Battle increases your HP by 20% and heals you for that 20%. Next up, Vengeance gives you 30% reduced damage taken and delivers 55 potency every time you get hit. Next we have Bloodwetting. This ability reduces damage taken by 10% and restores health based on damage dealt with 400 cure potency. There's also Nascent Flash, which is the same ability, but you cast it on another player. Both abilities share a 25-second cooldown. Next up is Equilibrium, which restores HP worth 1200 potency and heals 200 potency over 15 seconds. This ability has a 60-second cooldown. Shake It Off places a shield on all party members worth 50% of their total health for 15 seconds. It also dispels other mitigation abilities like Vengeance, Bloodwetting, and Thrill of the Battle in favor of increasing your shield by 2% for each dispel. Shake It Off has a 90% cooldown. I completely forgot to put Invuln in the video. It's this one right here. Gang. 240-second recast. All you do, cast it on the target. That's the wrong button. Oh my god, I'm actually so embarrassed right now. There we go. Now I can't die. Cool. Now that's it for warrior specific mitigation. The rest are roll wide, which I've already covered in my beginner tank guide, so I'm going to rapid fire. Rampart, 20% damage reduction with a 90-second cooldown. Reprisal, area effect that reduces all damage dealt by 10% to all enemies hit. And last, Arm's Length gives slow to any enemies that attack you and also grants knockback immunity. Do not forget this one. Alright, that's it for skills. Let's put it all together. Before we get started with that, I want to call attention to the Balance website and Discord, which I do for all of my guide videos. That's because the information gathered there is invaluable and way more in-depth than I can provide. So after this video, if you still have more questions, I will put a link to it in the description. Also, if you are enjoying this video, maybe consider giving it a like. It would really help me out in the algorithm. Thanks for that. Now let's get to the opener. Okay, first off, if you are the main tank, make sure you have your stance on. Don't be that guy. At 0, cast Tomahawk into Infuriate. Go right into your Storm's Eye combo while potting after the second GCD. Cast Storm's Eye and weave Inner Release followed by your first Inner Chaos. Weave Upheaval and your first Onslaught after Inner Chaos. Follow that with Primal Rend into your second Infuriate weaved after that. Use your second Inner Chaos followed by your second Onslaught. Next, you're just Fel Cleaving 3 times, spend your Inner Release, make sure you weave in your last Onslaught. Now after you spent Inner Release, go into your Storm's Path combo followed by another Fel Cleave. At this point, your third Infuriate will be up. Weave that into your Fel Cleave GCD and end your opener with one last Inner Chaos. It seems like a lot more complicated than it actually is, just give it a bit of practice. From here on out, it's a lot easier. All you want to do is maintain your Storm's Eye combo. The recommended refresh time is about 15 seconds. When your buff is up, use your Storm's Path to gain Beast Gauge. In general, it is better to save your Fel Cleaves for party buffs, however, avoid overcapping on the Beast Gauge. Similar rule applies to Onslaught and Infuriate. Avoid overcapping, always leave one charge up. Lastly, use Inner Release and Upheaval on cooldown given how short their timers are. Now really quickly, AoE, relatively straightforward. Most skills are just interchangeable. Use Mithril Tempest combo to give you Storm's Eye. Also acts as your filler. Other than that, just swap Fel Cleave for Decimate, Upheaval for Regony, and Inner Chaos for Chaotic Cyclone. So now that we're done with the rotation, I'm going to go over Consumables really fast. For Potion, Grade 7 Strength. For Food, Warrior Seek Carrot Pudding. Lastly, for melds, it's mostly direct and critical hit, but I can't really go into the depth that goes into melding any justice. So for this part, I am going to recommend going to that balance website after the video, which again, will be in the description. And that's really it. I just have a few personal insights and closing thoughts. It definitely is the easiest tank, definitely lacks the depth of, say, Paladin or Gunbreaker, however, by no means is the job boring, not in the slightest. As I've joked about, the warrior is the small brain, big muscle fantasy, and when all the gears are working, it is very satisfying. It is definitely my favorite tank to take into dungeon content. That's because of the very high demand AoE bursts. You just see all those numbers pop up, and when you use a skill like Bloodwetting with your burst, you see all the health go right back up. It is absurd. Now, we have Criterion and varied dungeons coming on the 18th. Warriors have definitely struggled in raid scenarios when compared to other tanks. However, I think when those new dungeons do come out, we're going to see warriors get to shine a little bit more. Of course, warriors should still be buffed, but now that we have this higher level dungeon content coming, I am predicting that we're going to see a warrior meta grow within that content. However, that is all speculation. We don't even know what the dungeons look like yet, so take that with a huge grain of salt. Bottom line, if you want to turn off your brain and watch big numbers go boom on your screen, and have the best overall mitigation of the game, warrior is the job for you. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Be sure to leave a comment if you think I left something out, or if there's another job you'd like to see me cover. Take care, everyone.